Well, folks, it seems that new details, details we already knew, have come out about the Acolyte and why it was canceled. And this is coming from Forbes yesterday. And, it's confirming what we already knew. Low viewership, didn't have the numbers and such. And this is all making people go nuts. The people who want the Acolyte to come back, they don't like hearing the truth. And the truth hurts in this case. You got low viewerships, you don't reward failure. But let's get into this. This is from Forbes. Disney may not be publicly commenting on why the Acolyte was canceled, but we have internal information. All the same, it seems. All the Acolyte info is coming from insider Jeff Snyder, who previously had a bit about how Keanu Reeves at one point almost played Soul. Something that doesn't really fit with Leslie Headland saying she wanted Lee Jung-jae from the start. Now we have further information on the canceling of the show, though I'm not entirely sure a lot of this couldn't be deduced from existing information. The highlights are it was canceled due to low viewership. This is likely to push back against the idea that this was done to placate toxic fans who review bombed the show and made an industry out of videos complaining about it. Jesus. It wasn't toxic fans. It was actual fans. Viewership dove after episode 2. I can also fully believe this as this was a lot of third-party data suggested. And also the first few episodes of The Acolyte were not very good. Yes, plenty will say the whole show is bad, but as some who really did like it, by the end of the key phrase there is by the end, if viewers quit early, they never made it to the all-timer episode 5 night with the wild lightsaber fight and shocking deaths. I think that would have won people over, but most left after 2 episodes if they showed up at all. It cost $630,000 for every minute of screen time. Given that the Acolyte was estimated to have a $180 million budget before this, and 8 episodes are about 40 minutes long on average, that would actually push it closer to $200 million. Maybe deduct a bit if some of those minutes are opening or closing credits, but yeah, probably right around that $180 million sweet spot. Above all else, it was the reason it died. Or this was the reason it died. And it is unclear how the show, who are wholly disconnected from the Skywalkers and the entire era, was supposed to hit viewership metrics to justify a budget like that, and or reportedly cost $250 million and was not well watched, but it had a second season because it was negotiated up front. Yeah, that's another thing that a lot of these fans whining about the Acolyte, or fans whining about the Acolyte, were complaining about. It's like, well, why does Andor get a second season? Because it had a second season baked into the contract. So, yeah. No such luck for the Acolyte, but this is very much a Disney spending problem. Not a show problem, as we've seen this time and time again with their movie and film projects. This is a studio reportedly paying Robert Downey Jr. alone $100 million to wear the mask of Doctor Doom, after all. So, there are not plans to remove the show from Disney+. Fans were starting to freak out that The Acolyte was not only canceled, but Disney might willow the show. Remove it from the service altogether. This is reportedly not happening. This would not have been a tax write-off, like what we've seen from Max with things like the Batgirl movie. But because the show was already released, one main season would be to avoid paying residuals on it indefinitely. But there are no plans to do that, so trust that as much as you will. I'm really not shocked at anything here. I have said the whole while extremely irritating, the Acolyte Haters Club did not get the show canceled. It was always cost versus viewership. But with that high cost and a concept that was never going to drive anything like the viewership it needed, all of this is squarely on Disney. And while I've said it is not impossible, Disney changes its mind, I think this information is leaking to show why they're not going to. So yeah, folks, while this guy thinks that, oh, well, toxic fans and all that stuff, he's willing to at least, or the writer is willing to at least acknowledge the truth as to why the show didn't perform. And I respect that person for that. Or Paul Tassi, but they're coming out he's coming out and saying, oh yeah, it didn't perform the way it's supposed to. And instead of blaming those toxic fans like everybody wants to, perhaps you should blame Disney. Well, actually, no. You shouldn't blame Disney. You need to blame yourselves. You all thought it was okay to come at the people who were saying this isn't interesting, there are glaring problems, and all that, and you're saying, oh, you're not but toxic assholes, you shouldn't watch it. And when we didn't, well, you got what you wanted, but you didn't get, or you didn't want what you got. So yeah, maybe you all should have not pissed off over 1 billion plus Star Wars fans, folks. Star Wars fans number 1 billion plus. And if you think that all the Acolyte fans, all 80,000 of them, and yes, I will say with certainty there are tens of thousands of Acolyte fans. I know of at least 2 of those tens of thousands of people who have been signing petitions and whatnot. And the thing is, folks, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to take the L, just as Disney is doing, because, well, you pissed off a bunch of people, and then they did as you asked. They didn't watch it. Me, I watched it so I could provide objective criticism, meaning an objective review for each episode. I did that on my weekly recaps during the show's live airings. So yeah, I gave actual objective criticisms. I didn't go along with all the inflamed rhetoric that was going on in some corners. No, I used objective criticisms to break down the show and show you, yeah, this is why it's not good. You know, this part is interesting. This part was actually decent. So yeah, I thought some of it was good, some of it wasn't. Most of it wasn't, objectively speaking. But yeah, it sucks that they actually have to do articles confirming the point because too many people are whining and crying about toxic fans and stuff. It ain't toxic fans that got the show canceled. Well, actually, no. It is toxic fans that got the show canceled because they were yelling at all the other fans, all 1 billion plus of them, to not watch the show. And so when they did that, the toxic fans, the ones that are actually, or not all of them, but a good number of the ones that like the show, who were constantly bashing anybody as racists or bigoted, like Amanda Stenberg doing her little twerking video to fight back against racism or whatever when people were not finding the show interesting. You're all the ones that got this show canceled, as well as Disney for hiring a person to use Star Wars as their personal therapy project. Maybe you need to start putting blame where blame is due. Maybe you need to start actually calling out Disney for hiring Leslie Headland for making a show that didn't really perform well, not simply because it wasn't part of the Skywalker saga, but because the story contradicted a lot of what the established lore already put forth. Lore is important to folks who are Star Wars fans. Continuity is important to folks who are Star Wars fans. If you don't respect that, they're gonna freaking tell you. Anyway, folks, that's going to be the video. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. If you want to help support my channel, liking videos and subscribing, clicking the bell for notifications, those are the best ways to support my channel. Anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. This has been Orange Hat, and always remember to stay humble. Peace.